This is the Ayaneo Pocket Micro, and you want to know if it's any good, right? I do? Of course you do. Alright, I guess. Well, you'll just have to watch the video to find out. Well, no, I'm good, thanks. The Ayaneo Pocket Micro is super cool though. I mean, I was just sitting here minding my own business, and then you show up out of nowhere and start talking to me about whatever that is, and then now it feels like you're trying to get me to watch some video. So, no, I don't want to. Are you sure? Look, I had a hard day. I'm not in the mood, alright? Alright, I could take a hint. It could play PS2. Give it to me. Hey, wait, give that back. Let go. No, you let go. PS2. Awesome. Hey there, how you doing? I'm TechDweeb, welcome. Thanks for clicking on the video today. The Ayaneo Pocket Micro is an interesting thing. I feel like I say that a lot in my videos. There's lots of interesting things out there, I guess. Like this. What even is that? But this thing is even more interesting than most interesting things. It's a relatively small, slick little handheld with a great design and build quality. It has a 3x2 screen, which I love to see, and it's powerful. It's powerful enough to play GameCube, PS2, even 3DS, and that other Nintendo portable system that shall not be named. And considering the size of this thing, that's pretty freaking impressive. It's really good in a lot of ways, but its biggest fault is that it confused me why it exists. Maybe I'm wrong, but this feels like it was made to fill a niche of like 10 people. However, now that I've had this for a while and played with it and put it through its paces, I'm now not wondering why it exists. I'm wondering why I didn't want something like this before. Who'da thunk a pocket-friendly, high-end micro Android emulation device is the thing missing from our lives? Apart from health and happiness, of course. And maybe you fit into that niche. And if you do, then this is the flagship device for you and your niche friends and your little niche club. And if you're not sure, or if you're just skeptical, just give me a chance to show you what it can do, and you might leave this video with a changed mind. And if not, well, you got to watch a video about a fun tech toy that you don't care about, but it's a TechDweeb video, so at least you get to watch the best looking hands on YouTube fondle a shiny thing. Oh yeah. The box is nice. If you like boxes, this one's sure to delight you. And there's the doodad itself. That makes a great first impression. In here we have some word papers. So there you go. I hope that helped you out to see that. And down here, oh, I bet I know what we get in here. Oh, I was wrong. It's just a USB-C cable. I thought it was going to be a cookie. I'm sad now. And this is cool. They also sent me their new retro power bank. So let's open this at the same time, why not? In here, we have a nice picture of it on an envelope full of, yep, you guessed it, word papers. My cup runneth over. And here's the thing. It's a cute little guy. It's not very big, definitely pocket friendly. Underneath, you can see all the letters and numbers about the device. 12,000 milliamp hours, 45 watt max. And on the front, we have a little switch down here on the left to change the display, where you can see the battery capacity, the temperature, charging speed of the devices that are plugged in, and a menu where you can change the language or the temperature units. It's cute and cool. It might actually be my new favorite charger because I like fun things, but really it's just a charger. So if you think you'll like a charger that looks like a Super Famicom, then you'll like this. And if you don't, you won't. You can pre-order the Pocket Micro via their Indiegogo campaign. It starts at 189 USDs for the base model. The higher end model is 219 USDs, and they also have a limited edition retro gray version that is 259 USDs. This thing is powered by the MediaTek Helio G99 SoC. Depending on which version you get, it comes with either 6GB or 8GB of LPDDR4X RAM, and either 128GB or 256GB of UFS 2.2 internal storage. The screen is a 3.5-inch borderless IPS LCD screen at a ratio of 3:2, 690 by 640 resolution. We also get active cooling, Hall effect joysticks, Wi-Fi 5, Bluetooth 5.2, a 2,600 milliamp hour battery. It's 233 grams, ships with Android 13, and it smells like a Chinese handheld factory with a hint of cinnamon. Taking a look at the thing, we can see that it's a retro handheld. We have retro handheld stuff on it, like a D-pad over here, some ABXY buttons, 2 thumbsticks, an all-glass front plate with a screen there in the middle. Kind of on the underside of the front, we have start and select down here, and over here this is an Ayaneo quick settings button and an Android home button. And then underneath there's a USB-C hold down there for charging and attaching peripherals. No video out, unfortunately, and 2 downward firing stereo speakers. Up top we have some bumpers, a couple of triggers, a vent grill, a power button with a built-in fingerprint reader, and volume up and down. On the right side we have a generic button that you can bind to like the RetroArch menu or something, and an Android back button. Wow. The device is really lovely looking. Ayaneo has great product design, very minimalist aesthetic, just a plain rectangle shape with no ergonomic humps or curves to squeeze. I love the vibe of the all-glass front. It has an aluminum alloy frame that feels great in your hands. If you are sick of cheap plastic doodads that feel like baby toys for baby nerds and you want something premium to impress the retro game enthusiast millionaires at the golf gala, then this will definitely earn you some millionaire points. Even though there's not much by way of ergonomics, the hand feel is surprisingly great. I love gaming on this thing despite the relatively small size. Weight-wise, 230 something grams is lighter than the RP4 Pro for instance, but considering how small this thing is, it ends up feeling really dense, which is actually a good thing when you're holding it because the extra weight adds a heftiness to the hand feel. It's definitely pocketable, but my only gripe is that these thumbsticks protrude too much. I personally would have preferred low profile, maybe inset sticks, because then it would have been kind of like a hassle-free slide in and out of the pocket thing. The controls on this thing are great. The D-pad is delightful, nice and wide and flat with a soft membrane feel to it so it doesn't dig into your thumb at all. It passes the contra test, no accidental diagonals, but it's easy to hit the diagonals when you need to. I can pull off fireballs and dragon punches every single time. The face buttons are nice as well. I love the shape of them, the feel of the matte plastic, and they have a nice membrane mush with a slight feedback click. This is exactly the way that I like my buttons. The bumpers and triggers are a firm membrane style with a quiet, soft click, and the controls in general are very quiet. This thing would be great for playing in bed and not waking your wife or your wife's boyfriend. The sticks are also a treat to use. I love the shape of the convex thumb cap, and they have a great range of movement and actually feel almost like full-size sticks. It's sort of like the Retroid sticks. And the input response isn't perfect. There are some little hitches here and there, but they're above average in terms of input quality, and I have no issues using these even in games with precision platforming and aiming. The screen is so great. To be fair, this is only a 3.5-inch screen, which might be on the small side for some people. Not for me though. It's 960 by 640 resolution, and at 3.5 inches, that is super crisp. And it's 3:2 ratio, my favorite aspect ratio. So 4:3 content on here doesn't have massive black bars on the sides, just little ones, and 16:9 content doesn't have massive bars on the top and bottom, just little ones. The screen itself is beautiful. Saturated colors, it's bright enough for outdoor use even in sunlight. It gets super dim for nighttime gaming too. We have downward firing stereo speakers, and the sound quality is kind of fine. Yeah, it's not super deep and bassy, a little muffled sounding, but honestly, it's alright. No headphone hole though. I wasn't happy about that because I'm not a big fan of living the dongle life just to rock out to Donkey Kong Country tunes. The system on here is Android 13 and it's serviceable. Standard Android handheld experience here. If you're not familiar with Android emulation devices, they can be quite a bit of work to set up. It's like a weekend project, to download RetroArch and set it up and all the other emulators and a front end. I went with Emulation Station for my front end. It's amazing when you have it all set up, but it's definitely not plug and play. There are some extra Ayaneo software thingies to help you out. There's iSpace, which is their own front end that I didn't bother setting up because I know what it's like and I know I don't like it. There's also Ayaneo's handheld settings app, which is where you can do a few things like tweak the performance profiles, recalibrate the controller, and update the device firmware. And then there's Ayaneo's quick settings panel, and you'll probably be using this a lot. In here you have access to quick performance mode settings where you can toggle between your power saving mode and balance mode and gaming mode and max performance mode, and also change change the fan mode, toggle some system stuff. Under controller, you can enable the on-screen key mapper, and it works, but it's not great. You do get basic functionality, so if you're playing kind of simpler games, this should do the job fine, but it's not great for precision games. You don't have the stick options to do proper looking around in FPS games, for instance. This key mapping software could be good with some changes, and maybe it will be in the future, but it's not there yet. On the topic of janky stuff that needs to be fixed, the button mapping is weird on this thing. It comes in the Japanese configuration, and usually on these things we have the option to swap that, and we do have that option here in the Ayaneo settings. However, it immediately reverts back to Japanese whenever the device goes to sleep, and you have to go in here and change it every time you use the device, basically. So there's a few minor annoyances. None of it is a deal breaker for me, but I do want to see that stuff fixed. So come on, Ayaneo, be a good buddy and fix those things for us, would you? I did 2 battery drain tests. In my maxed out test running a high-end game, I was able to get almost 4 hours of battery life, which is what you would get on any of the high-end workloads. And in my battery saving test, which was like running an easy game, I was actually able to get over 8 hours of battery life. That's not too shabby at all. You get pretty darn impressive performance from this thing, which is really cool considering the size of it. You'll get everything up to and including Dreamcast, GameCube, PS2, 3DS, and that other Nintendo handheld. Dreamcast and PSP runs amazing. The hardware can push all those systems even upscale to the max resolution of the display. I actually really like PSP on here because that 3:2 ratio screen means the games can run relatively big on the screen, and they look great. 3DS is good, but not if you need to use both screens at once. At 1x resolution, everything I tried ran well, but only easy games ran okay at 2x resolution. GameCube is generally really good. You will want to choose the right settings, and obviously you'll want to be at the max performance profile for the device for the more demanding games. However, you can go up to 2x resolution in most circumstances, and apart from some minor areas of slowdown, it was mostly running really well and totally playable. But the hardest to run games like those godforsaken Star Wars games, they're not going to run perfect. PS2 is almost the same scenario, but you'll find that there will be more games that don't run perfect for PS2. But again, here, in most circumstances, you can go up to 2x resolution and most stuff runs fine without getting into the weeds with the underclocking settings, which you can do if you need more performance. And I'm not going to cover that other Nintendo system that shall not be named because screw those guys, but the gist is that easy to run games run well and hard to run games don't. I personally wouldn't want to play lots of GameCube and PS2 on a screen this size, since those games had like a lot more detail and even the menus are kind of hard to see at this size. But the retro stuff is a lot more enjoyable on a screen like this. It's really bright and vibrant with great pixel density, so the retro games all look gorgeous and have really solid pixel scaling options. You can run with integer scaling on lots of systems, but even if you don't, there's enough pixels here that you don't get much pixel distortion. And even if you do end up using like a pixel shader, it's not smudgy and blurry the way it is on lower resolution screens. I have been loving this thing for the older stuff, and you can run all that stuff in the battery saving mode and get a ton of battery life from this thing. And because it's Android, you get an amazing sleep mode, so you can literally leave it asleep for the entire day, tap the button, and be playing your game in just a few seconds. The real star of the show is Game Boy Advance. This thing is the best GBA playing device that I've ever used. GBA was a small portable system, so the games themselves are made to look and work well at this size. And here we actually get pixel perfect 4x GBA integer scaling. And the screen here is so crispy and beautiful, it makes all these games look as good as they ever have. If you wanted the freaking ultimate GBA Micro, something that feels like it was made to be just the most premium GBA experience, then this is it. I know it's kind of silly to think about buying an expensive device for GBA, but considering the quality of this thing and also how much other stuff runs great on here, it kind of justifies the premium price tag. Speaking of which, considering the quality of the device and what you can do, in my opinion, this thing is actually a solid value. I don't think any other offering can do what this does at $190, but even if there was, it's kind of hard to compare since this thing is so unique. That's the thing that's hard. With a quirky device like this, it's not going to be an apples to apples comparison. You really need to want what this does to be happy with it. And if you do like smaller, really pocket-sized devices, if you love GBA, if you love really beautiful looking retro games and high pixel count screens, if you like high-end premium feeling devices, cases. And if you want to play some PSP and GameCube and PS2 on the side, then this thing really does stand out. But I don't know if it's the kind of thing I would personally recommend for everyone, because it's definitely not a one-size-fits-all thing. If you are intrigued, if you like what you see, then you'll probably love playing with it too. And if you're not 100% sold on this by this point, I say hold off. You're not going to miss out if you wait, because there are shiny new doodads coming out all the time. So many doodads, you guys. How freaking lucky are we? If you want an Ayaneo Pocket Micro, you should pick one up via their Indiegogo campaign, because you can save some money if you buy it while the campaign is active. I'll put the info on the screen now, and there is a link in the thingamabob below. And that brings us to the end. I hope you found this useful. Click the thumbs up button if you liked the video, or don't if you didn't. I don't care what you do. I'm not your mother. I'm TechDweeb. And thanks for watching. Bye-bye.